Alright, so with the Xbox layoffs, another thing has happened today. And you wondering where I'm getting this stuff. I be checking on X too. But another thing that's happened that caught my eye here. It says here solo dev hit games faces 55,000 Steam refunds despite strong reviews, right? So this is the game's called Paddle Paddle Paddle, right? And apparently it has very positive reviews on Steam, right? But according to this, is that people has been beating the game in under the 2 hour mark, which is the refund mark here, right? And now that's crazy because it says here that it's a 21% refund rate on the thing costing him 165,000, which is kind of crazy that people would play the man game, rate it good, and then at the same time say, hey, yeah, the game's good, I refunded it though. And this brings in the question here that I just had an issue with this too. I talked about it in my PlayStation video. Um, but some of these games, like, okay, say this man made a very good game here, right? According to the reviews, very good. I haven't played it myself, but a very good game here, right? Except that people's beating it and refunding it under the 2 hour mark. Now, contrast that with another game I had talked about, which was recently I had bought, right? Which was Bleach Rebirth Souls, right? Now, that game, right? It was just so terrible. It was just such a terrible game to me. I said this before. It was. But by the time you find out that the game's actually terrible, right? You're past the 2 hour mark. You're past the refund mark. So you got to take the hit on the game. You can't refund. Like, I wanted to refund the game, right? Because it's like, dude, it wasn't what I expected, after seeing all the trailers and stuff. And then you're saying, okay, yeah, okay, let me try this. This is actually a Bleach game. And then you get to playing, and then you got like the stealth fighting game like, dude, like it was so bad. Like it's so limited. The game is so limited fighting wise, like compared to other games. Like compare it to like 2D games like Street Fighter and Tekken, which you're in a 3D space and it's just like so severely limited on the stuff, and it's just plain boring. It's just a boring game. It's just a bad game. Like I just didn't want to stay past how many. Let me see what I had uh, in that game, for example. Yeah. So I was like, when I found out it was bad, I was already past like the 3 hour mark. But I said, okay, I've spent this money on the game. Let me just play it some more, right? So I did. I played the game for over 6 hours before I deleted it and said it wasn't even worth the space on the hard drive, which is it's just one of them examples that, like, so this is like considered a AAA title, but if you go back to this guy, which is an indie title, right? And his game ain't even that much. It's on sale right now too. What is it like? Let me type it back in here because I had tabbed over. Game is actually on sale for $2.99, right? Which is it's just crazy, and you got people just play the whole thing and just refund that, and it's like, dude, like, that was your money. You spent all that time making the game, and it contrasts with me too, because I've been working on a 2D game. Like, I ain't worked on it in a couple of weeks, but I did make like a whole little first level part for the 2D game I was working on, right? And it's based off a short story I wrote. Now the short story, I made the audiobook to it too, and it was only like, it was an hour and some change long. So now if you turn that into game form, right? That's gonna be less than an hour probably, for if I do all the chapters in the story, make all the levels, right? It's gonna be like less than an hour. Like, I mean, like the first level is just like 5 minutes, right? And of my thinking, I was gonna be like, oh man, I could put it on Steam and you know, uh, sell it for like $2.99 or something. Try to make some money, because people looking at 165,000. That is life changing money. Like, let me just say that real quick. That is life changing for somebody that just made like a 2D game by themselves or something like that, right? Anyway, but the point is, I was seeing people on here complaining like, oh, well, maybe you should have made your game longer. Maybe you shouldn't even put that on Steam. You should have put it on itch. But let's be real now. You would have put that on it. Nobody would have even paid for that joker, right? Like, I got music on itch and people don't even want to pay for that, right? Now, if I make it free, hundreds. It'll have hundreds of downloads, right? Hundreds. But you put even $1 on that joker, you ain't selling nothing, right? So them saying that to this guy is like, he's trying to take a risk here and, put his stuff out, pay the what is it, the $100 listing fee on Steam, and he made his money. He did, but also at the same time, he didn't make he lost what people kind of played him. They trying to play the system here. But then at the same time, you can't play it with the AAA titles, like I said, which is crazy because you don't know it's bad until you like far into the game, and then they're like, oh, well, you can't refund it. And so now people calling, they're trying to call changes to the policy, at least for those type of games, which I understand, stuff like that. But it's crazy that you look on here and you see people saying, oh, hey, that they're saying, oh yeah, you shouldn't have did that. You should have made your game longer. You should have did all this. And I'm like, dude, like, what are y'all doing? The games don't have to be that long. A matter of fact, people complain saying people should make games longer, but then when it's a long game, they complain and say the game's not good. Like, dude. And then you gotta look at this again. This man has very positive reviews on here, like over 1,000 and something, right? Like, dude. Like, it's a game apparently worth playing to everybody, but apparently they're just refunding the stuff, which is kind of crazy that they would do that, So yeah, that's another thing on the day that I wanted to talk about, because that's just crazy. That's crazy. But I guess it's just how people is. It's how people is. I see it all the time too, especially because I work in retail now, and stuff like that. It's a lot of stuff that happens, and I wish I could say I was shocked by this, but I'm honestly not. So yeah.